My name is Cheryl Rose, and I am the director of the Social Innovation Generation Project at the University of Waterloo. And I just wanted to give you, say a couple of words about what this thing, the Social Innovation Generation, is about, in case that you don't, I'm assuming that you may not know. So, here? Okay, sorry. So Social Innovation Generation, or SIG, is this national project. It's been around for about 5 years now in the country, almost, 4 or 5 years. It's a collaboration between 8 key partners at 4 different nodes. And Francis Wesley and I are the 2 people that are involved from the University of Waterloo. We're the only university involved. The others are the Mars Discovery Centre, which is a large accelerator centre and capacity building centre in Toronto. The McConnell Foundation, which is the largest private foundation in the country, and it's in Montreal. And the Plan Institute, which is in Vancouver, and they are these brilliant policy advocates, often influencing provincial and federal governments to make changes at the political level. And we've been hanging around together and trying to think of what we could do ourselves, but then, of course, with our partnerships and various networks and sort of the areas that we come from, to think about how can we help and do what we can encourage others to create conditions in our country, in Canada, to allow innovation in our social systems, which includes our neighborhoods and communities, to be able to emerge, to have support, to be sustained, to not be flashes in the pan, but to have some lifespan, and to get some real traction and see some real impact, especially on some of the big problems that our country has been actually dealing with for a long, long time. These include many, a list of things. I don't have to mention them to you. We're not experts necessarily on those particular issues. We have some expertise around how do you go about trying to help those who act right on the ground and are often the experts and have great experience in dealing around some of these big issues like the environment, like mental health, like poverty, like homelessness, et cetera, et cetera. How can we have better supports for those that are right on the front lines working? And part of what we know is that we need to get right off the front line, because in addition to that important work being supported and happening as much as possible, and a lot of important experimentation with new ideas and new partnerships and new ways of acting and operating going on, we need to make space for those new ideas to get some life. Otherwise, what caused the problem in the first place will shut it down. And I bet everyone in this room has had experience with great ideas that at some point your disappointment is it doesn't get you as far as you wanted to go, or it just starts to look like the same old thing with a different hat on. And that's discouraging. It's disappointing. And part of what we know is that it's because of what's already set in place that caused problems in the first place. It is the systems, and that we are all part of those systems. So we try to operate from what we call this whole system approach, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. Before I get into all of that, I just wanted to kind of explain what this SIG thing is, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how we are thinking about social innovation, et cetera, and provide you with a little bit of my observations of what I've noticed about the initiative that you're involved in here, and some things that we've learned from working with others in other communities and in other parts of the country and the world, and remind you of some of the things that people have found and we believe to be true through research and through on-the-ground experience to be important to keep in mind when you actually want to see change happen in the world. First of all, I want to tell you that Francis Wesley, who's the chair in social innovation at the University of Waterloo, and has written the lovely book, Getting to Maybe, which is this book with dandelion seeds all over it. And if you want to read one book that will be affirming for you and encouraging for you, and where you'll learn a little bit about what do we actually have to pay attention to, and where is there evidence that change ever happens in the world, I'd recommend that you read Getting to Maybe. Frances can't be here because she has an urgent emergency with her family. And so she is at home looking after her daughter and her grandson. And last night when I talked to her, I told her that I was pretty sure that from what I could see in the short time I've spent in Fort McMurray, that everyone here would get that. Because what I notice about this program, this initiative that you're involved in, is that it is about people who care about home and who care about their connections and their relationships, who take responsibility and who want to do what they need to do, which is what Frances is doing today. And I told her that I was, you know, kind of inspired by the sense of passion I could feel in the people that I met yesterday in the awards ceremony that we were at last night. People feel so very passionate about this place and about what they has gone on here, what's happening on a day-to-day basis, and people's sort of dreams for the future for Fort McMurray and for Wood Buffalo. And we both agreed that that's always a little signal that we look for. Although I'm going to talk to you about, you know, some theoretical frameworks, and there's all kinds of knowledge you can bring to bear on how to not only go out there and get busy and make sure action happens, but ensure that it's smart action that has the best chance of having the kind of impact that you want. It is critical to start with this sense of, I really care about something, I want to see something happen, and I will do the hard work of working for that. So passion is actually critical. And a little bit later, I'm going to share with you just a little bit out of Getting to Maybe, where the authors talk about that critical ingredient and where they feel the not-for-profit sector has a real role to play in keeping those sorts of fires alive. How much time do I have, Nancy? I have a whole hour? Great. Then this is what I want to do. I don't want to talk at you the whole time. I would like to ask you to have little conversations in your tables, and I want to do, I just want to have a little check-in right about now, and it's for a purpose, and so I'd like you to kind of take it seriously. I'd like to divide the room sort of roughly in half, so I'm going to kind of go, okay, I'll go this side of Kathy Glover, but so these tables and these two, you're going to be one half of the room, and then this table and over there, you're the other half of the room. And I'm going to ask you to have a very short discussion. I'm just going to give you a few minutes, but this is what I want you to talk about. And I'm going to ask you to argue two sides of a question. So, so this side over here, I'm going to ask you to take seriously arguing no to the question that I'm going to pose. So I want you to think about realistically, in the real world, which is this Wood Buffalo region, I want you to think of why the answer to the question might be no. And this side, I want you to think about if you were in a debate and it counted and you were going to win a trip to Costa Rica, if you made your point really well, what's the case for yes? And the question is, can social change happen in Wood Buffalo? Can this change that you're hoping for, you can even bring it down specifically to the changes that are part of this, the goals and objectives of this project around the not-for-profit sector and community social services that happen here. Is it possible? In 2012, you know, this context, this place, these people at this time, I would like those tables that I identified over here, think of, you know, 2 or 3 reasons, each of you, each table, of why the answer is absolutely yes. What's your strong case that the answer is yes? What's this place and this initiative and this time got going for it that will make it possible? And I'd like the other half of the room to have a serious conversation about why, even with the best of intentions and wanting it, here are the things that are going to probably stop us in our tracks. And I know that you know what some of those things are. You can imagine what some of those tough challenges ahead are. So what are the reasons that the answer, you could argue, would be probably not? I know it's sad. We're going to get past that. But I do want you to do that. So just for like 3 or 4 minutes, just talk together. Why is the answer no? And try to think of a couple of reasons. Why is the answer for sure yes? And try to think of a couple of really good arguments for that.